Hi, this is Lainey Cameron, and I'm excited. Today I'm here with Regina Buttner. Her new novel, her debut novel, Absolution, just came out. Hey, Regina.
Hi, Lainey. Thank you so much for having me.
So let's talk a little about Absolution. Tell us about the book. Tell us the inspiration behind this idea.
Well, it was about 6 years ago. One day I was going through some very difficult personal upheaval in my life, and I was feeling particularly down and kind of looking up in heaven and going, what did I do to deserve this? And then I thought, if I can get through this, maybe I'll write that book that I've been wanting to write since I was probably an adolescent. And so I did get through that difficult time, and I decided, all right, that's it. Then I have to start writing the book. And so that was what prompted me to start writing. And I took my very first creative writing class at that time. Just going with it.
That's fabulous. And I love books that are inspired from hard moments in our lives, right? A lot of my own book is inspired from going through some difficult times and thinking about how I could put that into a story. And I love that this is similar. And your main character is not having an easy time in this book, right? She's married to a guy that I would say is a cruel narcissist, I think is how I described him in my own review. Why does she stick around? Why doesn't she leave this guy?
Because she is committed to her marriage vows. She was raised what I call old school Catholic, rather traditional, strict, and she believes in the sanctity of marriage. That's what she was brought up to believe. That's how her mother lived her life, and Jeannie just can't let that go.
Yeah, I appreciated that she's got a belief system. You've created a very credible character who has a belief system, and she's struggling between the right thing for her and the right thing by her belief system. And it's hard, right? Like the right thing for her is to get away from this guy, but she also is struggling throughout the book with making that decision. And it's really interesting how you take us inside her head as she grapples with that.
Yes, she's struggling between those values she was raised to believe in and the harsh reality of what she's actually living with her husband.
And the reviews are really interesting. Let's put one up on screen here. I thought this was a great review from Kristen here. She says, it's a gripping, heart-wrenching story of a woman walking a tightrope between the traditional values she was raised with and a marriage that threatens to destroy her. Talk about high stakes. And she describes it as a true page turner, and I completely agree. I was also rooting for Jeannie to make the right choices through this novel, and I took a quick look at the early reviews on Goodreads, and gripping is one of the top words that is used to describe your novel. I actually did a little bit of word analysis, and it was very interesting to see gripping come up again and again and again.
Yeah, that's what I was shooting for. It's sort of like life on steroids. Jeannie's getting a lot thrown at her in a short span of time, and she's got to find some resolution to it.
And how did this book change, or is there anything readers might not guess as you went through changing and doing multiple versions? What would readers maybe not know?
The biggest change was a chapter that I removed completely, in which Jeannie is pregnant with her and Greg's second baby, and they're out for a walk with the dog one day, and the dog bolts, pulls the leash out of Greg's hand, shoots down the street towards oncoming traffic, and Greg just stands there. He doesn't do anything. So Jeannie springs into action, takes off after the dog, and being that far along in pregnancy, she shouldn't be running like that, trips and falls, and then very nearly loses the baby. And I decided that Jeannie had had enough trauma in her life, and I didn't think readers could take that much more being piled upon her. So I actually cut that entire chapter.
Interesting. That's an interesting call. You know, they do say you're supposed to, what's the famous phrase, chase your character up a tree and throw rocks at them.
Yeah.
So, I guess there's still a limit to how much the reader wants to see your character deal with misery. Yeah.
That was how I felt. Yeah. So I made that decision to cut.
Smart. I didn't feel like the book lacked for it. I don't think it needed it. So good choice.
Good.
So what about reading? Do you have time to read these days when you're in the middle of getting ready to launch your book? And actually it's out now this week, but have you been reading?
Yeah. I read constantly, and I've been reading quite a bit of the current 2020 debuts, and I also love to revisit my classics. And so I just finished rereading Daphne du Maurier's Rebecca, which is one of my all-time favorite books. I think du Maurier has an absolute mastery of suspense and character building and vivid imagery. So that was a wonderful, wonderful break from my own nervousness at the impending launch of my book.
Good call. And what have you learned along the way? I find this fascinating that you kind of had an idea and you basically learned the whole craft of writing. What advice would you have for people who are embarking maybe on a similar path?
I would tell aspiring writers that the best thing you can do is develop a disciplined writing habit where you sit down every day or nearly every day as much as possible, get into that writing habit. And that was what brought me through my manuscript from the conception to completion. I was disciplined and I made sure I kept those writing dates with myself every time.
That is great advice. And let's show potential readers how they can connect with you, because we both know that, or maybe you're about to learn that one of the funnest things about getting your debut novel out there is hearing what readers think of it. It's such a joy to get reviews, to see people comment on it and post about it. So if you're on Instagram, folks, at Regina Buttner Books is where you can follow Regina, or you can find her all her other social medias on her website, reginabutner.com. So it's been a pleasure having you here today, Regina, and best of luck with the book, which is now out and available for folks to purchase.
Thank you very much, Lainey. I've enjoyed chatting with you.